Yeah, now I'd like to welcome our regular guest and colleague on Can-Do FM, Dave Nixon, the ex-chairman of Barrow Raiders. How are you doing, Dave? How's your new year been?
Fairly quiet, Tony, and it's got even quieter now with the new national lockdown. So I think the same as everybody else. I think a different one from normal New Year's. Can't see friends, can't go around houses, just sitting in, drinking whiskey, watching the telly.
Oh, now I do know, Dave, because you've been on Can-Do FM before talking about your passion, which is angling. And you are the chairman of the Barrow Angling Association. And I believe in lockdown 3, you're not allowed to go fishing. I mean, why is that?
Well, if it's the same as lockdown 1, where fishing was banned, it's to do with, it's not so much the fishing, because in fishing, there is a natural distancing. You don't sit together or stand together. There is at least 50 yards or more distance between individual anglers. It's more to do with the car parking. With cars, anglers are normally quite friendly with one another. You pull up into a car park, you park next to a car, you get out, you see a guy that's already been fishing, and you say, "All right, mate, how are you doing? You know, have you caught anything? What have you caught it on?" So there's a natural closeness there, and that's why they've closed it down. It's to do with car parks. It's not to do with distancing. When they opened it up again in the second lockdown, and they allowed angling, you could even go, 2 of you could go in a boat because there was a natural distance there. But it's the car parks, and with this new variant, it's travelling like Billy-O. That's where people are going to become infected. So I've been today, in case there's any Barrow anglers listening, I have been, well, not today, yesterday, I've been round all the waters, and I've put notices up saying that no fishing, all the waters are closed.
Wow. So does this apply to the sea as well, or is it just sort of lake?
Yeah, I think it's the same. You know, if you go down fishing at Ronhead, you pull into the car park, don't you?
Yeah. I do when I go shopping at Tesco as well.
Well, that's essential. You can't really say you're going to starve yourself. You know, it's either COVID or starvation. It's the car parking. That's the problem.
Right. So I can't go down the coast road and do a bit of fishing by myself?
No, because there can't be any exceptions.
Okay. Now, have you found that people have got more into fishing during this COVID situation over the last 9 months?
Well, it's difficult to tell, really, because most of the clubs don't renew their membership until January. Right. So it's difficult to tell whether there will be an influx. I do know, because I'm on the committee at Windermere and District Angling Association, that their waiting list has increased during lockdown. And obviously there's been stuff in the papers and on the TV about there being an increased interest in it. And obviously the sale of licenses, Environment Agency licenses, which enable you to go fishing, has increased quite dramatically. So I think from what I've read, there is an increased interest, but we'll have to see how that pans out in Barrow.
So all these quantities of fish, increased quantities that are getting caught, Dave, are they part of the Brexit agreement?
Well, I think we best leave that, Tony, because I tend to get a bit irate about Brexit.
Right,
as
Dave.
You know.
We'll have a little chat now generally about sport, and we'll go on to Rugby League, which is obviously our main passion in life, other than, in your case, fishing, Dave. So, Barrow Rugby League. I've just read Steve Neal's article that he puts in the Evening Mail, and he's telling me that the roof at the sort of roundabout end of the ground has got to come down because it's unsafe.
Yeah, I read that as well, and it's only it's about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more, that we had to take the tech end. Most people call it the Tesco end or the tech end. Dear old Ivor Kelland, who was preceded us on Radio Cumbria, used to always call it the tech end. And when I was chair, I had to, obviously there are a lot of regulations, and one of them is that you have to have a building survey every year, and the surveyor found that the roof at the tech end was unsafe. And I took a couple of guys down from Furness College, a couple of sheet metal workers and welders, and nothing had been done to it since the 1950s, I would say. And I know during my time that when we got a bit of a blow coming in from Walney, it would blow sheets of corrugated iron off the roof. And I became obviously very concerned that you don't want a lump of corrugated iron landing on your car, or even worse, landing on you. So we had to take that down, and Neil Martin came in and took it down. It was in a terrible state. Some of the steelwork was like lace. It was riddled. Now, the Tesco end wasn't too bad 10, 15 years ago, but nothing's been done to it, and it will have to come down. I mean, I can't see any point in trying to re-roof it. It's not the roof that's the problem. It's the steelwork that holds it up. It's the joists and the pillars, and that would be which is a major job, because they're situated into the terrace, the pillars. So you'd have to be digging up concrete. It's a shame, really, because Barrow always prided itself on being covered on four grounds. So no matter what, on four sides. So no matter what the weather was, you could stand and watch the game or sit and watch the game, and you were covered. And now we'll just be down to the popular side, and that's the next worry, because that's old, and the stand. But the stand obviously is relatively new, so that's not a problem, and it's galvanised steel that was used there. But from what I've seen of the popular side, next couple of years or whatever, it's going to take some serious looking at, and that would be a big job, massive job.
Yeah, that's obviously one of the consequences of an ageing ground, isn't it? As you say, Dave, I think,
and being by the sea, the salt air.
Yep, absolutely.
And the sand. Yeah.
Now, one of the other concerning things that Steve mentioned in his article was the fact that the club have had to adjust the budget to the recent lockdown restrictions, which means that the RFL have asked professional clubs to delay training for at least 2 weeks. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it must be quite worrying for the board. I know I had a meeting of the Community Foundation a couple of weeks ago, and was talking. Steve was in the office downstairs, and when we finished, I was having a chat with him, and things were looking quite positive then that we'd be able to get some pre-season friendlies in, maybe with Whitehaven and Workington, possibly a Super League club. And Steve's feeling was that with us not being able to watch any, live rugby, so to speak, that we would get some bumper crowds, which would put some money in. We were back training, things were looking good. We sat, I know we're going to come on, possibly talk about Ryan Shaw. We'd obviously signed Ryan Shaw. A lot of interest in the town, in the team, with the signings that the board have made. And then this has come in now, and okay, we'll have to have some pre-season friendlies of some sort to get the players, I wouldn't exactly say match fit, but find out how they work together. Has all been knocked into a cock's hat, hasn't it? Because there's talk now in the Evening Mail tonight, or last night, that they would have to be behind locked doors. players don't get paid for friendlies, but it must be so disheartening for them and worrying, and I'm sure all the fans will be worried as well. You know, talking of a six-figure deficit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. One of the consequences of not having these friendlies, and that is the impact on the cash flow, of course. And although Steve has said in the short term they're in a good place, the longer this goes on, that debt becomes like at least six figures, as you've just said. And they're even contemplating maybe getting some loans in place at very favourable interest rates to start investing in the ground, so that when things do get back to normal, you know, that there's a better place to watch the games.
Well, yeah, I can see where they're coming from. And as you know, when we were on the board, we did look at what could you do to improve the ground. But the ground's that old, it's going to take an awful lot of money to make any meaningful improvements, I think. Do we need more, more food outlets in the ground? I don't know. It would be nice to be able to improve the ground, to make it a bit more community centred in services that it might offer. A bit like, I mean, I know there's a big difference, a bit like the Halliwell Jones Stadium in Warrington, which has got a medical centre in it. But we've just got a new medical centre within walking distance of the ground at Alfred Barrow. So I don't know. What could you put in it? I mean, could put a hotel on the roundabout, but parking would be a problem. You could put a, what do you call it, a travelling in there, a bit of competition for Premier, but where people could park might be an issue, but I don't know. Obviously, we don't know what the board's thinking is, but I just feel very sorry for them that this has come and clobbered them when they were looking forward to showing us what they'd done.
Yeah, and one of those positives, of course, was the signing of Ryan Shaw, who's basically coming home to the club. Where he started as a youngster, really. And I remember Ryan playing for Barrow about 5-6 seasons ago before he went to Super League. So that is a fantastic signing, isn't it? I mean, what is he, 28, 29? He's in his prime, and he's coming to play League One football.
Yeah, well, I think from what I've read, Ryan's quite rightly looking at his future after he finishes playing rugby league. And he's got an apprenticeship with a firm, I think he's an electrical engineer, with a firm in Wigan. He was signed by Lee. Lee have now gone in as a part-time player because they were in the Championship. Yeah. But now they've gone into the Super League. They've gone full-time. And Ryan doesn't want full-time rugby league at this stage of his life. He wants to get himself qualified with a trade, with a career after rugby league. He obviously comes from Barrow. He's got family here. He's connected with Barrow Island. So on the training evenings or at the weekend, if Barrow were playing on a Saturday night or a Sunday, he can come up and stay overnight or stay for a couple of days with his family, and that'll fit in quite nicely with playing rugby league for Barrow. A tremendous goal kicker. I remember him when he played at Barrow, when he came from Barrow Island. I mean, he could kick goals from anywhere, from practically on the opposition's try line. So I think he's a big lad. I don't know where Crest will play him. Would he play him on the wing, or would he play him in the centre, or could he go to loose forward or something? Yeah, I don't know. He was a winger when he came to Barrow.
I think centre's probably the priority there in terms of team strengthening, isn't it? So you've got Declan Hume on one centre and maybe Ryan Shaw on the other, because I think you've got wingers in Adam Ford and Shane Toll, haven't you? So,
well, yeah. The thing is, though, centre is a specialist position, isn't it? And it can be difficult if you've not played it before. and I don't think he played it in the Super League, did he?
I think he might have had the occasional game, yeah. But
yeah, I just popped into my mind then. Yeah, tremendous signing.
Yep. Now, the other thing as well is that another ex-Barrow favourite, Chris Hankson, who left Barrow for Swinton and then got snapped up by Wigan, he's now been released and he's been signed by London Broncos in the Championship. So there's a good sign, and I thought we might have got Chris Hankson.
Well, yeah, but obviously I think London have possibly got a little bit more money. They're playing in a higher league, and he obviously wants to play at a higher level. He was very happy at Barrow. I mean, he's gone with a colleague, Jared Sammut, as well, who evidently Barrow were very close to signing. But if you're a young lad or a young man, I wouldn't say where would you sooner be, but if you're married or got a girlfriend, where would your wife sooner go shopping? Knightsbridge or Dalton Road?
Dalton Road, every time.
Yeah, there's hardly anything there these days. But yeah, I can see why he's gone there. Yeah. But I think the board again needs a pat on the back that they were looking, and we got very close to signing a player of Jared Sammut's calibre. I think he would have done a cracking job at Barrow, and he would have brought on the likes of Ryan Johnson and Jake. Forgot his second name now. Sorry,
Carter.
Jake Carter. Yeah. So,
and the other thing about Jared Sammut, Dave, is that I watched him at Workington a few times. We've seen him. He was a bit of a maverick. Wasn't what I would say a total team player. He did things off the cuff many times, and a lot of people didn't know what he was going to do next, including himself, I think. But he's always been a very talented and tough player, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I watched him at Workington as well with you. I remember one game where he scored all the points. He did everything. The other 12 might as well not been on the pitch. But yeah, I agree with you. He is a bit of a maverick, but I think he would have been a crowd favourite.
Oh, definitely.
You know, I would have liked to have seen him at Barrow.
Yep, definitely. We like mavericks at Barrow, don't we?
Yeah, yeah.
The other thing that was a bit of a surprise in the world of rugby league was Stephen Ward, who a very talented Leeds Rhino halfback, and he's had to retire due to the long-term effects of concussion, which again seems to be becoming a real big issue in contact sport. What do you think about that retirement, Dave?
Well, yeah, he's a good player, a really good player, I thought, for Leeds. And it's sad to see that he feels that he has to retire. And from what I've read, he doesn't seem to be in too good a place. He was injured or concussed in a pre-season game for Leeds, and then on his first game back, got concussed again. I don't think he played at all the rest of the season, and he's still suffering from dizziness, and associated conditions related to concussion. I don't know what's going on with the concussion thing. It seems to have reared its head since Steve Thompson, the England Rugby Union World Cup winning hooker, hit the headlines with looking to progress a legal case against the Rugby Union for not looking after him. But I don't know. I mean, it's difficult to say. You can't say, oh, they're being a bit soft or whatever. It's not particularly nice being concussed. I've been concussed a few times, as probably some people would be able to tell. And I've ended up in hospital. The last time I got concussed, I ended up in Furness General. And it's not, when you come round, I have to say, it's probably the worst headache I have ever had, and that includes some monumental hangovers as a younger lad. It really is painful. But touch wood, I don't appear to have had any after effects that I've noticed, really. But it's worrying, and it's worrying for how do the authorities deal with it. It's come about, I think, from certainly in rugby union, the advent of professionalism, and they really do seem to have bred a cohort of really big, solid, muscle men. There are no fat props anymore. There are no guys that are on there. I mean, when I was playing rugby union, there were guys on there that were only there to scrummage. They used to walk from scrum to scrum. They didn't do any running, and you never gave them the ball in the loose because they were walking. The ball always went to the backs. So there has been talk, I've been following it in rugby union, that they would have to restrict the tackling to below the waist. You know, and it is. I think it's indicative of how the sport's gone. Both codes, that people don't talk about tackles now; they talk about hits.
Yeah.
The you know, I know it's semantics, but there's a difference between a tackle and a hit. And I think that the coaches are emphasising on hits now, not on tackles. I mean, rugby union have done something with it, and league with the shoulder charge being barred, and union have barred it as well. But they talk about, you know, wrapping your arms around. But I think we'll have to wait and see what happens with this legal challenge that some of the rugby union players are putting on. I do notice that a rugby league player has come out and said that they knew what they were getting into, and therefore they haven't got a case. But I can't remember his name just off the top of my head.
Yeah, and of course in football as well, Dave, we've got this continuous discussion on dementia and heading the ball and all that lot. So that's coming under a lot of scrutiny now, and people looking back on their careers and going, you know, I perhaps shouldn't have headed the ball as much as I should have. So, yeah, and then the passing of Colin Bell, I don't think he was a victim of that, but I remember Colin Bell playing for Man City in the 70s at his peak and that. He was a fantastic player. Do you remember Colin Bell?
I remember Colin Bell, yeah. I mean, I don't really follow football or soccer, as I call it. Barrow Rugby League plays football and Barrow Soccer plays soccer. But yeah, I remember Colin Bell. I remember him in the 1970, was it World Cup? He was one of the top players, wasn't he? I mean, I think if you were interested in sport, everybody knew Colin Bell. You know, like everybody knew Bobby Charlton and Jack Charlton, and, you know, players of that ilk, Nobby Stiles. People knew them, and from what I've seen on the TV today and read in the paper, Colin Bell was probably the best player, you know, or very near that from what people are saying.
Oh yeah, definitely, and as I say, he was one of the nice guys as well. So unfortunately, Dave, I don't know, these people who we used to look up to when we were kids are all sort of 10 to 15 years older than us, and sadly, a lot of them are passing away now, aren't they? You know, Nobby Stiles, and you know.
I don't think Colin Bell's 10 to 15 years older than me. He might be 5 or 6 years older than me.
No, he was 74.
Yeah, well, I'm 68, 69 this year.
Oh, well, yeah, well, I was talking about me more than you, mate. But,
cheers for that, Tom.
Anyway, in football, Dave, I also read this week that the EFL, which is a league that Barrow Football playing, they've now decided that due to this lockdown that they're going to test players twice a week. And every single club has got to test every single members of the staff. And in Barrow's case, they've got 35 staff members who have just been tested. There was no positive cases, which is fabulous. But they're going to have to be tested twice a week now, every single week. And the PFA, the Professional Football Association, with Gordon Taylor as their chairman, they're going to fund it. Now, that's something that maybe only they can do, because I couldn't see Rugby League doing that, could you?
No, I think it's down to money, isn't it? The Rugby League clubs, even the top clubs, I don't think they could afford to do that. Maybe once a week, but even that's going to be expensive. Barrow have put out feelers to see if they can get sponsorship or help from some of the sponsors, some of the bigger sponsors. But no, I can't see the RFL being able to pay that. Not at all.
And I think because of that, I'm doubting a little bit now with the the positive element of the fact that, oh yeah, we're going to get going again in April. But now that we're in this lockdown, I think it might even go on to June or something like that. And even then, that's been ambitious. I mean, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think it all depends on, on how quickly they can roll out this vaccine and drop the numbers. Now, I don't think there's a lot of creative thinking in this government. I think if I was in charge, I'd have 24-hour vaccination centres. I'd have vaccination centres open 24 hours, and I'd have people scheduled to go in 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when you get your vaccination. That's sorry if you've got to get up in the middle of the night, but it's either that or pop your clogs. Make your choice. If that doesn't happen, they're talking about, you and I are probably in tier 5, something like that, of the vaccination. You're not going to get, you and I are not going to get vaccinated till March. And then you've got everybody that's in their 50s, 40s, down. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go, if we don't get started at all.
And the other thing about all of this, of course, is that this is the biggest year for Rugby League for a very long time, in the sense that the Rugby League World Cup, which is being held in this country, starts in October, or is due to start in October.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a problem, isn't it? And it's the same as the British Lions are due to go to South Africa. And there's talk that might not happen.
Well, there's usually 20,000 supporters go to South Africa.
Yeah, well,
I mean, there's no way that's going to be allowed, is there?
Well, it's a money-making machine. And it's also something that's on the telly. All the games are televised. It's
lost you, Dave.
Can't have the 20,000 supporters. It's not worth doing it.
Yeah, okay, mate.
So I don't know. I mean, the RFL seem to be saying that it's going ahead until I haven't seen anything recently saying it's not going ahead. But yeah, that's a big worry.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Dave. Well, it's been good talking to you. We've been trying to stay positive like everyone else. I mean, we're all looking forward to watching live sport again, particularly down at Craven Park. But I suppose the message for everyone, Dave, is we've just got to keep taking a day at a time and just keep working through and get vaccinated eventually, yeah?
Yeah, well, I think you've got to wear your mask. You've got to stay indoors. When you get offered the vaccination, go and take it. In the meantime, obey the regulations. That's the only thing that's going to take the numbers down and save people.
Absolutely.
So stay safe.
Yeah. And hopefully me and you will get back in the studio at some point. We've got some great guests lined up, particularly from the Rugby League world. We've got Phil Hogan, said he's going to come in. We've got Dave Clark, the ex-coach of Barrow Raiders, who are going to come in. But we want to also encourage representatives from all sports in the Furness area, Dave. And as I say, if you can get in touch with one or two people in the field, in fishing and other things that you've got interest in, we'll get a real spread of people for 2021. That's the main aim of sport.
Yeah, well, we've got one from junior football. One of the guys, I think he's called, it's Joe. I think he's called Slater. I'm not sure. Has agreed to come on and talk about. He's from Dalton Casuals, and they'd run my grandson's playing for them. He's only 6, and they seem to run a very good junior section. And he's agreed that he'll come on and talk about junior soccer. How it's run in Barrow, how it helps the kids. There's lots of girls playing certainly at that age, some very good players. So that should be an interesting one. But I agree with you, Tony. If anybody's listening, they've got an interest in rollerball or whatever, get in touch and come on Can Do FM.
Absolutely. Right, Dave. Well, look after yourself. We'll be in touch again shortly. We'll have a chat about something that's happening. There's always something happening in the world of sport, isn't there? And as I say, just keep safe, mate.
And you, Tony. Bye.